Elena Voss had learned, a long time ago, that the safest way to live was to be forgotten. She kept her head down in the small town of Ashford Hollow, where she worked at a quiet veterinary clinic and rented a tiny apartment above a bakery. She smiled at her neighbors, paid her bills on time, and never once raised her voice in public. To everyone who met her, she was simply Elena, the calm young woman who was good with animals and kept mostly to herself. No one knew what she truly was. Every morning, before the sun rose high enough to wake the town, Elena drank a small cup of bitter tea made from herbs she gathered herself. It was not for her health, it was to hide her. The tea dulled the pull of her blood, quieted the power sleeping inside her, and kept her scent as plain and human as anyone else's. Without it, she feared, the world she had escaped as a child would find her again. She had been only 7 years old when her family's pack was destroyed. She remembered very little of that night, only fire in the distance, her mother's trembling hands pushing her through a hidden tunnel, and a voice whispering, "Run, and never tell anyone who you are." She had obeyed that voice for 17 years. Elena told herself she did not miss what she never truly had. She did not miss a crown she could not remember wearing, or a throne she had only heard about in her mother's hushed stories. She was safe. She was ordinary. That was enough. Until the day the Alpha King walked into her town. Damien Rourke was not a man who traveled without purpose. As the ruler of the Crimson Moon Pack, his time was consumed by treaties, defense, and the constant tension between rival packs, who circled his territory like hungry wolves waiting for weakness. He had not left his lands in over a year, but 3 days ago, one of his trackers had returned with a report that made him abandon every other duty. A trace of royal scent had been found near Ashford Hollow. Faint, old, but unmistakable. For 20 years, Damien's people had searched for the lost heir of the lunar throne, the bloodline that once held all the packs together in peace before war tore them apart. Damien himself had been raised on stories of that lost family, trained since childhood to protect the heir if they were ever found. He had almost stopped believing they still lived. Now, standing on the quiet main street of a human town, he felt something he had not felt in years. Hope, sharp and unfamiliar, pressing against his ribs. He told himself he was only here to investigate. He did not expect to feel his wolf go still and reverent the moment he stepped through the door of a small animal clinic and saw a woman kneeling on the floor, gently wrapping a bandage around an injured dog's paw. She looked up at him, and for one heartbeat, something ancient and instinctive rose inside his chest. He said nothing about it. Not yet. "I'm looking for a place to board my horse while I'm in town," he said instead, keeping his voice easy. "I was told this was the best clinic around." Elena studied him for a moment longer than she should have. There was something about him that unsettled her, though she could not name what. He was tall, composed, and carried himself the way some men did when they were used to being obeyed. But it was not his posture that caught her attention. It was the strange, quiet pull she felt in her own chest, as though her body recognized something her mind did not. She pushed the feeling aside. "We don't usually board horses here, but I can point you toward the right stable." "I'd appreciate that," Damien said. He did not need directions to a stable. He needed a reason to stay near her. Over the following days, Damien found small excuses to return to the clinic. A question about local wildlife. A request for advice on a fictional injured hound. Elena, though polite, remained guarded, answering only what was necessary and never lingering in conversation. She had spent years training herself not to trust strangers, especially ones who watched her the way he did, as if trying to solve a puzzle. What she did not know was that Damien was not imagining things. Every time he stood near her, his wolf pressed forward with a need to bow, to serve, to protect. It was the same instinct his people spoke of in old stories, the pull that only true royal blood could inspire. He was almost certain now, but almost was not enough. He needed proof, and more than that, he needed to understand why the last heir of a royal bloodline was hiding as a veterinary assistant in a forgotten human town. The truth revealed itself sooner than either of them expected, and not gently. It happened on a quiet evening when Elena stayed late at the clinic to check on a recovering patient. She did not notice the three strangers who slipped through the back alley until it was too late. They were rogue wolves, the kind who had spent years hunting rumors of the missing heir, hoping to use her blood or her death to gain power within the shifting hierarchy of packs. They cornered her before she could reach the door. Elena's mind raced. She had no weapon, no pack, no one to call for help. But as fear surged through her, so did something else, something buried deep beneath years of suppression. The bitter tea she drank every morning had worn thin that day, and without its usual strength, the wall she had built around herself began to crack. Her eyes, once a plain shade of brown, flickered with a pale silver light. The rogue wolves froze. One of them whispered, almost in disbelief, "It's her." Before they could act, the back door burst open. Damien had been passing nearby when he caught the scent of danger, sharp and unmistakable, carried on the wind. He moved without thinking, driven by instinct and something deeper he refused to name. He fought them off swiftly, his years of discipline and command showing in every controlled, powerful movement. The rogue wolves, outmatched and unwilling to face an alpha king directly, fled into the night. When it was over, Damien turned to Elena, breathing hard, and found her staring at her own trembling hands. The silver light had not faded. If anything, it grew brighter, spreading like a soft glow beneath her skin, revealing faint markings along her wrists that had never been visible before. Damien's breath caught. He knew those markings. He had seen them only in old paintings, passed down through generations, depicting the royal family that once ruled with balance and peace. Slowly, without a single doubt left in his heart, Damien lowered himself to one knee before her. "Your Majesty," he said quietly. Elena stared at him, stunned and terrified. "What are you doing? Get up." "I cannot," he said. "Not before you." "I'm not," she started, but the words died in her throat. She could not deny what her own body was revealing. The markings were real. The strange pull she had felt around him suddenly made painful sense. "I don't want this," she whispered. "I never wanted this." Damien rose slowly, his expression gentle despite the weight of his revelation. "I understand more than you know. But hiding will no longer keep you safe. Word will spread. Others will come. And next time, I may not arrive in time." Elena wrapped her arms around herself, feeling exposed in a way she never had before. "Everyone I loved died because of what I am. My mother, my family, everyone in our pack. If people know I'm alive, it will happen again." "They died protecting what they believed in," Damien said carefully. "A future where the packs could live without war. That future still needs you." "I'm not a queen," Elena said, her voice breaking. "I'm just someone who survived." "Sometimes," Damien said softly, "those are the same thing." For the first time in years, Elena did not have an answer that could push someone away. Over the days that followed, Damien did not pressure her. He simply stayed close, offering protection without demanding anything in return. Slowly, Elena allowed herself to ask questions about the world she had hidden from for so long. She learned of the packs still loyal to her family's memory, the treaties left unfinished, the quiet suffering caused by years of fractured leadership. She also learned more about Damien himself. He had been raised since childhood with the single purpose of protecting the lost heir, trained not for power, but for service. He had expected to spend his life guarding a stranger. He had not expected to feel something personal stir in his chest whenever she was near. Elena noticed it too, the way his loyalty was never forced, never hollow. It was steady, patient, and real. But peace did not come without one final test. The rogue wolves who had attacked her did not give up so easily. Backed by a hidden faction seeking to prevent any unification of the packs, they launched an assault on the edge of Damien's territory, hoping to eliminate Elena before her identity could be confirmed publicly. The attack came at night, sudden and brutal. Damien's warriors moved quickly to defend their borders, but the true target was clear from the start. Elena, who had spent her life avoiding conflict, found herself standing at the heart of it. She could run again. She could hide, as she always had. But this time, doing so would mean abandoning people who had already begun to believe in her, people who had risked their lives simply because of who she might be. She chose to stay. When the enemy forces broke through the outer line, Elena did not hide behind Damien. She stood beside him, and for the first time, she let go of the suppression that had defined her entire life. Silver light burst from her skin, not as fear, but as strength. Her instincts, long buried, rose to meet the moment. Damien fought at her side, matching her every step, protecting, without overshadowing, trusting her strength as much as his own. Together, they turned the tide. When the last of the attackers retreated into the darkness, silence settled over the battlefield, broken only by heavy breathing and the quiet crackle of dying torches. Elena stood tall, her markings glowing faintly under the moonlight, no longer something to fear, but something to embrace. Around her, warriors who had fought beside Damien for years slowly lowered themselves to one knee, one by one, until the entire courtyard knelt in silence. Elena looked at Damien, uncertain, searching his face for guidance. "They are not kneeling because they must," he said gently. "They are kneeling because they choose to." For the first time since she was a child, Elena did not feel the need to run. She felt, instead, a strange and unfamiliar sense of belonging. In the weeks that followed, word spread quietly among the packs that the lost heir had been found alive. Some doubted, some rejoiced, but slowly, cautiously, unity began to take root where division had ruled for years. Elena did not become a queen overnight, wrapped in golden robes and sudden confidence. She grew into the role slowly, learning to lead not through fear, but through the same quiet strength that had helped her survive all those years alone. Damien remained by her side, not as a ruler seeking control, but as a partner who had waited his entire life to serve someone worth serving. One evening, standing together on a balcony overlooking the newly gathered packs below, Elena finally allowed herself to feel something she had denied for years. Not just safety, not just duty. Hope. "I spent so long hiding," she said softly. "I thought that was the only way to survive." "You did survive," Damien said. "And now, you get to live." Elena smiled, the silver light in her eyes catching the moonlight like a promise finally kept. For the first time in her life, she did not feel like someone hiding from her past. She felt like someone finally stepping into her future.